Welcome back to Talking Sci-Fi with SYFY Sean and
Just
Randee. We have an exciting guest this week. Actually, as our podcast is growing, we get more and more famous people that want to be a part of the show and want to be a guest. And I consider the gentleman sitting next to me a very popular, famous person. He's grown. I have known this man since the 6th grade. Has been a friend of mine, and we're going to get into that a little bit, but let me introduce you to R. Bruce McGill.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here on This is Talking Sci-Fi with SYFY Sean and Just Randee.
It is, and you're just going to be Bruce today, so that's going to be awesome. Let me tell you, the main thing about we're going to have Bruce talking about today is he has actually published a book called The Iconic Time Box, and we're going to deal into all the details, and we're not going to give away any plot lines or anything because, of course, the main thing is you need to buy the book, and which is on Amazon, I believe, correct?
Amazon and Kindle, along with the next book in the series called The Quest for Pandora 5.
Right. Okay, that's great. We'll get into that, but we're going to talk about Doctor Who as well, which, as you've noticed in a past podcast, is not one of my strong points. I like the show. I have a favorite Doctor. We'll get into that, but let's talk to Bruce here. How did you get into Doctor Who? When did that all start?
Oh, man, I started with Doctor Who back in the 70s. I mean, my first Doctor literally was Tom Baker.
Oh, yeah.
And will always be my favorite Doctor, but even during that run on PBS, quite frankly, I saw the Pertwee years, and I went all the way through all of the Doctors until we get up to where we are in the modern time.
Right.
So that's how I started with Doctor Who, and you've got a favorite Doctor. I'm going to guess Tennant.
It's David Tennant.
It's David Tennant.
It is David Tennant. I think he's great. I'm an Eccleston fan as well. He'd be my second favorite, I think, because I liked his style. But David Tennant, to me personally, I think, and I've watched a little bit of every Doctor through the years, even the old black and white days. You know. He has the more, I think, wit that is for my type of wit, because each Doctor has their own style of being funny or serious, or just downright just wacky weirdo. Peter Davidson, he wore the celery stalk on his lapel and all that. I thought that was hilarious,
He could pull off a vegetable like that.
He could pull off a vegetable like that. But what about you, Randee? Who's your favorite Doctor?
Well, I just got into Doctor Who after basically knowing the two of you and realizing how much Bruce is into it. I'm going to insult because I always call him Nicholson. What the hell's his name?
Nicholson.
Eccleston. There you go. So that's how new I am to it. But I love Eccleston and Rose, and it bothers me that it only lasted 1 year.
Well, that's true. Eccleston was a very different Doctor. I mean, he's the one that basically revived the series in 2005 after its long hiatus. I mean, the show ran from 63 to 89. And then they had the 1996 movie, which that's another thing, is I don't think Paul McGann ever really had a fair chance to be the Doctor. Mm-mm. And I'm glad that they bought him back for that little 7-minute thing, but they're talking about now making a spin-off Doctor Who series with him in it, which I think would be absolutely great.
What was the one spin-off they did with the Captain Jack? What was that? It was an organization. For some reason, I did not get into that show. Yeah, but the spinoffs, it's a big deal to get a spinoff anyway.
Well, there was 3 spinoffs of Doctor Who.
I didn't know 3.
There was K9 and Company.
Really?
There was the Sarah Jane Adventures, which was Sarah Jane Smith, who's passed back to her father. But and then there was that one you're talking about.
I can't think of the name.
I just wasn't a big fan.
Was it? Gosh, I can't think of what the name of it is. That's what it is, just some guys talking about sci-fi. We don't always remember the names, but you guys are screaming at the screens and the radio going, it's this. I'm like, we can't hear you right now, okay? So just keep screaming.
No, it's just that we're all getting older and we're getting Alzheimer's.
Yes, we are. Dementia setting in, But seriously, though, and I know you, like I said, I've known you since the 6th grade.
Yeah.
You and I lost connection over the years after high school and all that, and we would run into each other from time to time.
Yeah, when I was a mechanic and you were at
that's
your
right.
father's shop.
In my father's auto parts store, yes, that's right. But how I got reconnected with Bruce, I'm gonna do a tie-in with this. Is that we do a small event called SYFY Bartow that Main Street Bartow puts on. Not so
small anymore.
I'm trying to be cool about it. And I was desperate. The first show I was trying to impress the powers that be of Bartow, which is impossible till this day. There's some good people there, but it's just still. I was wanting guests and something to really grab people's attention, and Bruce got a hold of me and said, well, I have built a life-size replica of the TARDIS from Doctor Who. I'm like, here in town, because I know where Bruce lives, and all that. And I'm like, where is it? He goes, it's in my backyard. And I took some time one day and went over and looked at it, and lo and behold, it's not bigger on the inside, but it's pretty cool. It's an exact replica. You went into great detail.
I went into overkill detail because I had the original plans. I mean, this particular version of the TARDIS that they use now is much bigger than the old original TARDIS that you saw in the Christmas special with Capaldi.
Right.
And where he meets his first self.
Yeah.
But you see the difference in the size of the TARDISes. So I went somewhere in between. I actually went with the 1996 Hoodlin version of the TARDIS.
Okay.
And I mixed it, of course, with the Tom Baker paint theme. And it was absolutely a work of art.
The thing I was impressed the most about it until this day is you made it completely out of wood.
Yes, and I made it all one piece, so it weighed about 550 pounds.
And Bruce and I have loaded that thing on the trailer 4 or 5 times.
I'm going into this right now.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I found out. The struggle was where SYFY Bartow is held in our small town of Bartow, Florida, is about 2 miles, mile and a half from your home.
Yeah.
So we had to figure out how we were going to transport this beautiful, and I'm going to call it a piece of artwork because it's a piece of artwork. It's beautiful. From his home to downtown Bartow. So I had to figure out what I would do. So I had a friend that had a landscape business that happened to have a forklift. So we found a trailer. We got the guy to meet us over there on his own time and come and load it on his trailer and transport it down to Bartow on a Friday morning. Because when we do SYFY Bartow, we do Friday night and all day Saturday. So we go down wee hours in the morning before, because Bartow gets crowded with traffic.
Freezing cold.
And it's freezing cold. And we had this thing, and we had to secure the lighting mechanism on the top.
Yeah.
And just because it was real, Bruce was nervous as hell. That's what I remember the most, because you'd put so much work into this thing, and we wanted to transport it. We got it, and we were real particular. We took our time. We planned out the route. We got downtown, parked in the back of an area, and unloaded it with a forklift. And we went and put it right next to, across the street from the historic history museum, the old Polk County Courthouse. And it sat there on the side, on the sidewalk. And we propped it up. We had to jack it up, make it level and everything, because the sidewalk was not level.
Yeah.
I remember all this. It was very meticulous. So we got all that done because we wanted it there for the Friday night event. This is going to be SYFY #1, the very first one that we had, which is only 1 block. It's 9 or 10 blocks now.
Yeah.
And so got it back. So all of a sudden, in the afternoon, I'm back at the house getting things ready for the Friday night event, and I get these phone calls, and they said it was from the director of Main Street, and it was like, why people are calling saying there's a porta potty on Main Street, and I'm like, porta potty? I said, have they been delivered yet? Because we had a couple porta potties. So, when you have a big event, that's where you have to go. And they said, no, it's sitting right in front of blankety blank building. I'm like, oh, that's a TARDIS. That's the TARDIS. And they like, a what? So I had to explain to people that have no idea about Doctor Who or science fiction what a TARDIS was from our perspective, and I'm like, it's a time machine. It looks like a phone booth from Britain, a police box.
Yeah, later that day when I was down there setting up and putting the sound up. Remember I had the sound?
Yeah, the sound and everything. Yep. Mm-hmm.
This guy walks out of that building.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what the name of it is.
Yeah, it's different now.
The guy walks out there and he says, "What do we need with a police box? I mean, the cops have cell phones now." and I'm just like, really? So I said, it's a new thing that they're doing now.
Yeah.
You know, this is a brand new police box, just right off the presses. There's going to be one on every corner.
It was amazing because the stories of sci-fi.
Bartow, man.
Yeah, we woke them up. We woke them. Is that what they say now? They got woke.
Yeah, we gave them a little culture shock from Britain.
A lot of culture shock. That was a fun show though.
It took 2 or 3 years for people to come around.
Oh, they're still coming around.
Oh yeah. You know where the TARDIS is now?
No, where is it?
I sold it to a pub up in Mount Dora.
Yeah.
And they're using it as an actual bona fide police box for the Mount Dora Police Department.
Holy smokes.
So that's what became of my...
So she retired up there.
And is back in action.
Yeah, up there at the, I believe it's called the Magical Meat Tour. And that's probably a weird name, but...
No, it's British.
It's the British.
Yeah, it's the Brits. That's the way they go. They have a great sense of humor.
But that goes to show how that piece of art, how amazing it was for them to use it for that. And believe me,
the guy, when he saw it, he said, "I've got to have it."
Yep. Well, when you subscribe to our YouTube video about this, Randy will put some awesome pictures up because I'm sure you have a ton of those pictures.
Yeah, over the years at SYFY.
Oh
we
yeah,
got tons of pictures.
It was great. I contribute a lot of the success of the beginnings of SYFY to Bruce because no one had this. People would have little replicas of TARDISes at other conventions, but nothing that would stand against this thing.
Yeah, but don't sell yourself short. I mean, this guy has become like the mega sci-fi guy in Florida, and not only that, but around the country. Just about everybody knows him.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. It's all about having fun. We have another visitor that comes that brings a broke down TARDIS where he can actually put it together on spot, and he's kind of, since you've retired your TARDIS to his new resting place, he's kind of come and taken over, and he's one of the TARDIS builders. His name is Eugene Haggerty. If you find him on Facebook, great guy. He comes to the show. But let's get back to Bruce. So you decided to write this book. You started out doing a film at first, though, correct? Tell us a little bit about that.
Actually, that's right, and the film actually launched at SYFY Bartow #1.
Really?
Because a mutual acquaintance of ours, which I'm not going to mention his name since quite frankly, no longer like him.
I got you. That works.
But I met a guy there at SYFY 1, and he says, I'd like to use your box here, your TARDIS. He knew what it was. He knew what the TARDIS was. He says, I would like to do a Doctor Who parody with it. And I said, okay, I'm up for that. So the production gets along, and we actually did a small 7-minute run of the film. Mm-hmm. And he says to me, I think we're to go bigger with this. I think we need to make a fan film. Because he had already made a fan film about a Star Trek using a Voyager ship.
I remember that.
And anyway,
that's our little Tinkle Fairy. We call him Randy because that's inside baseball. So anyway, continue. I want to hear this story because I don't.
Anyway, he asked me. He says, I would love to do a fan film about this and maybe go an hour and 10 minutes with it.
Nice.
Instead of just 30 minutes. Most fan films and indie films are like 30 minutes. And he said, but I've got a problem. I don't have a writer. And I said, well, I can do that. So I sat down and I had written a script for him for his next adventure of his Star Trek series.
I got you.
So I started doing that, and I wrote what was called Prelude to the Iconic Time Box.
Okay.
And I wrote the complete story, and it was, of course, a much smaller version of what's in the book here. But anyway, we began filming that movie, and I went through 4 different production companies. I took that TARDIS up to Orlando.
I remember that.
Up to the university up there.
I remember when you did that.
And that was a beautiful trip, by the way. A nail biter. Anyway, we put it on the soundstage. We got beauty shots of it. I got, our mutual friend Chris Bowick to do the soundtrack and stuff.
Great guy.
Which also does the music for your
opening. Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, everything fell apart with that. So I kept going from movie company to movie company to movie company, getting bigger and better and more people on board, more lighting, more sound, more everything. And, I had to hold a cast meeting or a casting call and get a big cast. And I casted the movie twice with 2 different casts. I tried shooting it. And we got 3/4 of the movie filmed, and on the second run of shooting the movie, and the lead actor quit.
Great.
The lead actor quit, and basically it was over creative differences with me.
Right.
And he told me, I was being too much of a hard ass.
Well, it's your story,
Well, it is, and I want it done a certain way.
Yes.
If I'm directing a movie. So
and here's the deal: Bruce was forking out his own money.
Yeah.
For this.
Yeah.
He didn't have any financial help.
Yeah.
I'm
paying this, and I'm paying these actors as best as I can.
And we were treating them like gold.
Oh yeah.
Because you were a part of it as well, right?
Randy was on the production team with us, and actually. In the original run of the movie, you were going to make an appearance.
I was, as a DJ or something. I remember that. Imagine that.
DJ Sean the Con.
Yep.
Anyway, things finally fell apart because of this guy leaving. I would have had to start over from scratch again, and I just thought, well, maybe someday down the road. Right now, I'm going to give up on it. And I kind of sat around depressed for a little while, and I got the idea, you know what, why not make this into a book? I'm good at writing. I can do that. So I wrote Iconic Time Box, and I sent it off to publishers. Sent it off to several publishers, and every one of them came back with a great review. They all said, this is absolutely good stuff that you're putting out here.
Nice.
So the difference came down to the money as far as who published the book for me. And anyway, I learned a lot doing that. And the next book I published myself to keep the cost down.
Right.
So now I've got the 2 books out there. It will be a trilogy unless it goes on and does something like Harry Potter and becomes
something huge.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the story, because we know it's not really the Doctor Who time machine.
No. I had a guy write me the other day and says, "Isn't this just another version of Doctor Who?" And I said, "No, it's not." In our story, or in my story, I should say. The main character's name is Duncan Sims. And Duncan Sims comes from a little town, much like we grew up in here. As a matter of fact, it's based on our little town, and I was filming here in our little town.
Right, right.
And he's in a go-where, do-nothing place in life. 24 years old, has really failed to launch in life, so to speak.
Right.
And he is a brilliant person when it comes to coding and with scientific theory as far as time travel, time and quantum mechanics, whatever you want to call it. And he discovers the key to time. And he makes his own box, which is alluded to in this, and which was actually, actually I was going to use the Doctor Who TARDIS, if you remember.
Yes.
In the thing, but I was going to have problems with the BBC with that.
Copywriting.
And I would have had to change the facade of the TARDIS to make it look a little different. But anyway, well, that's where I was now. Where was
I? He was going through the story.
He discovered time travel.
Okay, he discovers time travel.
Yep.
And he embarks on this story, and of course, without giving away too much, he meets characters that, quite frankly, you will never see them meet on Doctor Who because, there's a little bit of political correctness goes on in the media, and even when I was working in the industry. And I've taken him to meet some biblical characters.
Right.
And not only that, but I put him in some situations that I just don't think that would really follow through in Doctor Who. And the difference is Duncan Sims is homegrown. He's an American guy who discovers time travel, and he builds this time machine. And with the help of a professor, not unlike this.
I understand. Yes.
But anyway, he goes into time, and the whole crux of the book is, what is time travel really? In other words, I wrote it from the point of view of what really is time travel. Is it something that's all exciting like we would see in Doctor Who or
Back to the Future,
Back to the Future, the time tunnel, any number of things that you could look at, even the time machine.
Right.
But is it really all that glorious, or is it terrifying? And that's the way I go through it. It's a little bit terrifying. It's a little bit exciting. It's a little bit of, I can't believe this,
Right.
And it kind of asks the question of what if you could time travel, and that's the angle that I approached it from. And I've studied science a lot, looking up time travel theories, and I looked at a lot of Tesla stuff, and Einstein's theories and some more modern contemporary scientists. And I looked at all their theories. I mean, first of all, you've got the theory that, okay, if you invented a time machine, and let's say you want to go back and change something about your life.
Right.
Okay, you go back in time, you change that thing about your life, but if you change that thing about your life, then you move forward in time. You never have need to build a time machine
Correct.
to go back in time.
It's a paradox.
Yeah, so if you do, then that completely erases what you did, and you go right back to, it reverts right back
to where you were. So it's like a fail-safe almost.
And then you've got the stuff like you had in the Star Trek series, where in the TV show and the movies, the original series,
yes,
and
right.
also in the Next Generation, where you can go into time and alter it as long as you're nice about it.
Yeah,
as long as you
handle it with kid gloves.
Yeah, as long as you don't put too much of a butterfly effect and leave too big of a footprint.
Right.
So that was my angle on the iconic time box, is to try to make it a very real story, and it's got its comedic moments that are funny. It's got it starts off by asking a question, it gives you a hook, and then it goes along and you discover what makes Duncan Sims tick. And of course, his family, his friends, and his girlfriend, none of them believe in him, but
right.
this one professor does. And that's what makes the book come alive, and, without saying any more about it.
So Duncan, you mentioned he runs into some biblical characters.
Yes.
Like well-known biblical, don't give nothing away, but like well-known biblical characters.
Yeah, pretty well known.
Okay, all right, I'll leave it at that, because that's an interesting spin, because unfortunately, I've never read your book, but I've heard great things about it. But I never knew that you were going that way, and that makes a lot of sense. Knowing you personally, that makes a lot of sense that you would go that way.
I've got the Just Thoughts channel on YouTube, so
right.
I have to inject a little bit of kind of faith-based.
Sure.
I don't push it in anybody's face. I'm just giving them something to think about. I mean, let's face it, even if you were agnostic or an atheist or whatever, and you had a time machine, wouldn't you go back and look and see?
Check out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's what's in Iconic Time Box.
I'm going to see the dinosaurs. I've already decided that.
I
want to see the dinosaurs.
Well,
so,
you know what? In Prelude, or excuse me, not Prelude, in the Quest for Pandora 5, that's part
and
of
that's your second. That's your second book.
Yeah, it's the second book in the Iconic Time Box series, and there will be a third.
That's awesome.
Is there any plans into creating both of the time boxes that you've created
as a real life prop?
As a prop.
Oh, you mean to build one and bring it down to SYFY?
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but
Actually, yes, there is. I do want to build that. I figure it will cost roughly about as much as it cost me to build the TARDIS. And
that was a lot of change.
That was about $700 or $800, and we're talking 5-6 years ago or however long it was.
Yeah, things have changed a lot. So,
but the price of wood and everything has gone up, and I bought the finest wood when I built that TARDIS.
Yes, like I said, man, it's a piece of furniture, man. It's like hardcore.
Oh yeah, well, I hope you'll show some pictures.
Oh, we will.
We
plan on it. We plan on it because it's really
but I
iconic.
Think while you're at SYFY Bartow selling the book, if people could get a picture in the new TARDIS.
Well,
it ain't called a TARDIS.
That's right.
Yeah, it's called the Pandora 8.
The Pandora 8.
I think that would be a fantastic prop for.
Bruce is a regular guest at SYFY Bartow because I've known him since the 6th grade and whatever I could do to help. He kind of attributed me of helping him push him in the right direction or inspiring you to start going with this whole storyline.
Oh yeah,
everything. I feel personally I owe him because he's my friend and I want that you to be a part of that. Is there any villains in this book? I see we got a Dalek here and I know you don't touch on that, but.
That is an angle that was pushed to me as far as when I was making the movie. They kept saying we need an antagonist.
Right.
And I was thinking, well, in this case, there's not going to be a villain per se because, I have watched movies before where they've got a good storyline going, whether it's time travel or whatever, and then they just introduce somebody that really doesn't make the movie.
Correct.
Now in some things, a protagonist and an antagonist are good to play off of each other.
Right.
You've got just like the Doctor and his nemesis, the Master. But no, I really didn't go with an antagonist in this. The villain in this is kind of time and what it can do.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that in later books there won't be a villain or there won't be something because I'm already 3/4 of the way through Iconic Time Box 3.
Right.
And I do have kind of that situation where it's not so much a villain, it's a friend of Duncan Sims who finds out what this box can do.
I got you.
Right.
Gets his own ideas about, hey, I can go and change, and my life can be better, and everybody's life can be better, and nobody will ever know it, because once I change time, it'll be
right.
So it's just go ahead, Randy. I'm
I was
sorry.
going to say, so you're finding government property. Is the government involved?
The government is involved to an extent because the project is called Patmos.
Okay.
And Patmos having to do with the biblical reference of the Isle of Patmos, where John the Revelator
absolutely.
saw the future. And anyway,
I love how you've done this. I had no idea. That's really awesome.
well, yeah, that's what the whole thing is. And the name Pandora 8 is kind of like opening Pandora's box. If you can go into time travel, really, I mean, think about it. If you can go into time travel, you would be opening Pandora's box, because you'd be so tempted to go back and change certain events.
Win the lottery or do whatever.
Well, I mean, there's personal greed too, but what if you could go back and change a world war, or save children that got swept away in one of these?
At 8 years old, right?
Yeah, or doing it. Well, they've already explored that on Doctor Who with.
Right.
I'm actually gonna find and purchase this book, because I had no idea. You and I have never really talked about it, because when you were still filming your movie, I know you had a lot of discouragement, a lot of things that happened and all that, and I'm here, but I just don't want to push anything, because I had my own things going on, you had yours, but you never talked to me about the story, and which is my fault because I never asked.
We really didn't get a chance, because whenever you're working on SYFY Barca, and I got to tell you, when this guy goes to work and gets out and goes to sci-fi conventions all over the place, he's like out there.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy has met everybody from Star Trek.
Yeah.
And including, you remember when I went and met Ike Eisenman?
Yes.
I called Sean and told him, I said, Ike Eisenman is at this
Fanboy in Lakeland.
Fanboy
Yep.
Expo in Lakeland.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
he lives in
Sean
Orlando.
says,
so.
Wait a minute now, Ike Eisenman, why is that name familiar to me? And I said, he was Scotty's nephew in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. And Sean says,
I've never met him.
Okay, I'm headed up to Fanboy
I've never met him. So,
He did. He went up there and got his autograph and everything.
I kicked it off with him pretty good, and he had another mutual friend with me, Art Love, and I was trying to get, because he lives not even 45 minutes from here maybe, and I said, come on down, I'll give you the table. I mean, you go sign some autographs, but he got ill right after I talked to him. I guess maybe I just slipped his mind, but I want to get a hold of him again, because the thing with SYFY Bartow is I have no budget for that. I have to. It's all like a fundraiser for Main Street Bartow, sure. and it's hard for me to throw some change. Watch your head. To throw some change at something, because it'd be out of my pocket, which I've done before, just like with you with starting your movie and all that.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's just I have been all over the place. I'm always pushing this town, because Bartow is a great town. You've obviously made it resemble that in your book, and it's just I want people to notice where we are in SYFY Bartow, and the celebrities that we are gaining from SYFY Bartow. I've created a monster that has many heads like King Ghidorah on Godzilla, but I think it's amazing. It's just it's an amazing ride. Please find his book and buy it. From what he's telling me, I'm buying it. Books. I'm sorry. There's Dose now. See, I've been out of the loop that long.
When you're an author, the whole idea is I'm going to write a bunch of books, and actually there will be a lot of Iconic Time Box books. Probably I'm going to stop at 3 and just see what happens.
Yeah.
But I've got other stories that I'm going to tell too. And as a matter of fact, me and Randy are going to release a book together.
Nice. Yeah. It's a sci-fi book, I think, isn't
it?
Yep.
Yes, it very much is. And when we decide what the name of it is, keep going with it, I'll have another book out with him.
Laura and I wanted to do a cookbook on drinks and some food and stuff, because we have a small Facebook channel. If you ever look at it, it's called Cooking and Drinking with Sean and Lori. And we started off years ago just playing around. And you know how Facebook is. It doesn't let you show a whole bunch of crap at one time. You have to break it into segments. and we've had a lot of fun. We've made Klingon egg rolls. We've done blood wine. We've done a Deadpool drink. We've done all types of food. We did
jelly shots,
Jello shots, and all that. And I want to get a book one day, but I know who to come to.
Well, I want you to create a drink called the Pandora 8.
Okay.
That will make you lose track of time.
That's it'd be right, the second most potent drink in the known galaxy other than the Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster, We could do it. I'll do an episode on it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing some shorts on drink mixing and all that as well.
Yeah.
So we'll bridge off this a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about Doctor Who on the show and all that. And I want to tell you a little bit more about, how I met Bruce and all. I've known you since probably the 6th grade, and I remember you would just... Back in the early 80s and mid 80s and late 80s, I hate to use this antiquated term, but nerds were not looked upon very highly that like science fiction and all that. And, I'd wear my Knight Rider t-shirt to school and everybody'd pick on me. And I had hair back then. Flash Gordon.
Oh, my God.
I'm bald. There's a guy that freaked out when I did that. Did you remember that when we did that one episode?
Oh, my God.
Sean's bald. Yes, I'm bald. So anyway, Bruce had this ability to make things out of weird stuff, and I remember the duct tape Star Trek ships you used to make.
Oh my God, you would bring that up.
Those things. It was artwork. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I took duct tape and I made all the Enterprises. I made 1701. Of course, there was no Enterprise at that time.
Right.
But I made 1701 and 1701 Alpha, 1701 Beta later.
Yep.
And I even made an Enterprise C and eventually an Enterprise D just to see if I could do it.
Sure.
Out of duct tape?
Yes.
Yeah,
they were amazing.
Out of duct tape. Well, not only that, but I used parts of bottles and stuff like that to give it shape because you can't just always wrap duct tape up. But you put the duct tape on it and you get it. And really, they were pretty cool looking.
To reach into your biblical stories, back in those days, if you were a geek or a nerd, you usually got picked on, beat up, or shunned, or whatever. So with Bruce doing this thing, it was like his equivalent of people drawing the fish in the sand.
Yeah.
The fisher of men. Hey, are you a Christian? You can't say that. Back in those days, you had to draw that emblem, and that was like our sign
Now is when you really don't say you're a Christian. I mean,
no, you don't.
When I was doing the movie, the studio people told me, said, when they read the script and saw what I had done with it and who I had Duncan Sims meeting, they said, I don't really think I want.
That's Hollywood for you, though.
I know that, and that's the left.
Yep.
That's what's going on in our country.
Yep.
That's the state of what's going on right now.
Yep.
But
and you don't promote this as a Christian book.
No, and to tell you the truth, this book is for the atheist. It's for anyone.
Believers,
it's for anyone
non-believers.
who loves science fiction.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if you take this book and you say, okay, I've heard it's faith-based. No, not really. I mean, of course it is from my point of view.
Right.
But an atheist could pick up that book and say, okay, let's see if I could go back and meet Moses.
Right.
Or some other character from the Bible. Would I do it just to see if the person was real or not? Because I claim they never existed.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you had the ability to travel in time and go back and prove to yourself, then what kind of change might that make on your life?
Right. But that's what I was saying, and I was connected to this, and is like when we were younger, you had to be careful with your fandom.
Yeah.
It wasn't called fandom back then.
Right. No.
And that's how Bruce and I grew with a relationship, because over the years of us drifting apart, coming back together, drifting apart, coming back together, that's just the way it is. That's the one thing that stayed constant in our friendship is the science fiction.
Oh yeah, sci-fi is always. I mean, me and Sean used to sit there and draw in Mrs. Sluss's class.
Yes,
if you
Mrs.
remember.
S's class. Yep, I remember.
We sat there and draw monsters to see who could draw the ugliest monster.
Yes.
And
instead of doing our work that was assigned, we're drawing fucking monsters on a piece of paper. So.
Good times. Good times.
It was good times.
True story.
It is a true story. I remember it very well. So it's amazing. It's amazing how we grow up. Doctor Who. Best villain out of the Doctor Who series, all of them.
Best villain, I would say, will always be the Master.
The Master. Mm-hmm.
The Master. I mean, you don't consider the Daleks as a villain because they're an army.
Yes.
Or the Cybermen.
Right.
But
they're your average like stormtrooper-ish. They just have a mission they have to complete.
With the Master, at first when they introduced him, you don't know that he's a Time Lord.
Right.
You know, if you go back to the classic Doctor Who, and then eventually you find out that he's a rival Time Lord. And one thing that I think plays out all the way from the classic to the new is the Master is always trying to kill the Doctor, but when the Doctor's in danger and it looks like he's going to be wiped from time, the Master can't have that.
Because he has nobody to
It's kind of like that
pick
whole
on.
thing with Vegeta and Goku in the Dragon Ball Z series.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good connection.
Yeah. Vegeta's like, no one else gets Kakarot but me. You know?
Oh my God.
Kakarot.
So it's Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner pretty much then, right?
Yeah,
That's another one.
Yeah. And
he can't survive without the Roadrunner.
What happens is they end up getting closer. And I know you're a David Tennant fan. You remember how David Tennant gets all broken up, the 10th Doctor, 10th and 11th.
Yep. Correct.
Regeneration.
Yes.
And, which, you know, Matt Smith, since we're talking about Doctor Who for a minute, Matt Smith is one of my favorite Doctors. I would say my favorites would be Tom Baker, of course, always. He was the longest running Doctor. And, you know, always had that very deep,
Yep.
would you like a jelly, baby?
Yeah, would you like a jelly?
Kind of way about him. But then you've got David Tennant, which I think is a brilliant portrayal of the Doctor. But for my money and for my like, Matt Smith brought back the quirkiness, the clumsiness, and the humor, but he was also just as intense and serious when he needed.
He had some there were some episodes that he was starring in that it bothered me, like psychologically. It brought back some things from my past and all that, like, wow, that's really, and I couldn't watch some of the episodes. But Matt Smith, he brought back the popularity to Doctor Who, because all the millennials, the youngins, as I call them, and all that, really started gravitating towards Doctor Who once again, because he was young, he was good looking, he had the style, the swagger, if you will.
Well, you know, I went and got him to hold a copy of the iconic Time Box.
Did you really?
It was at the MegaCon a couple of years back. I went over there, and I only stayed at the thing about an hour. You know, because that's one of the reasons which, you know, probably a lot of you do not know. I know Randy probably knows about it, and I know you probably know about it, but I suffer with anxiety attacks.
I got you.
And have for 31 years. Or actually longer, 33 years now. Time seems to slip away. But that was one of the reasons that I sat down and had the time to focus on doing this stuff, because when you get anxiety attacks, it kind of wipes your life away, and it takes away all of your ability. I mean, I would have loved to have gone to all the sci-fi shows, like, you know, that you've probably been to, Dragon Con.
Right.
All
Which
these
I've never
others.
been to Dragon Con. I don't think I could handle
you've
Dragon
never
Con.
been up there to Georgia?
No, I had so many people invite me to go up there, and it's like the convention of the year, happens every Labor Day. I just don't think I could. I don't have the anxiety like both of you guys do, because I know Randy suffers from it as well. But it's just I don't like being in a crowd for too long. I get like I'm suffocating.
Well, that's
and
the way
I'm scared I'm gonna rub against somebody that's got something I can't get rid of.
And well, not to mention that, it costs beaucoup bucks to go in and get one of these people, you know, give you an autograph, let alone hold up your book and.
I was at the convention that you went to with Matt Smith, and I couldn't get close to him with a 100-yard pole, you know. So
that's the beauty of going right in the morning and standing there
and just waiting
you know, being 50 back in line rather than 1,500 back in line.
I had some really good friends, Lawrence Henshaw and our mutual friend Lewis, and they met us at a convention. It was at MegaCon in Orlando, and my wife's relatively new. She loves science fiction, but she never went to conventions. My wife Lori, which we're going to get on the show soon. But we went to that show, and the gentleman that played not only MacGyver, but Colonel Jack O'Neill on Stargate was there, and she loved Stargate. And I love MacGyver, and I love Stargate, and we stood there, and we actually got in line in the middle of the day and went right up there. And our friends that I mentioned, Lawrence, he went and purchased us the photo op, and we got to have a picture with him. That tickled Lori to death. But I know the excitement of meeting it, and it's a lot of pressure of meeting these stars, you know, and especially someone like Matt Smith, who was like coming right off of his wave of being like one of the most popular actors that's played Doctor Who. But
well, you know, that's one thing that is a great thing about Sci-Fi Bartow.
Right.
Is Sean doesn't say, okay, it's all about Doctor Who, or it's all about Godzilla, or it's all about Lost in Space, or it's all about any one thing. Is everything in sci-fi, much like this show, is covered.
Yes.
And you can be a cosplayer, you can be a steampunker, you can be whatever you want
author,
for a day
artist,
in Bartow.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And go down there, and you know, how many people were there playing Doctor Who? I mean, we had like 8 or 10 guys.
Oh yeah.
All dressed up as the different versions of the Doctor, and that's what I thought was cool.
Yes.
Is we had so many different versions of the Doctor, and you know, I did the McGann one.
Yep.
And what's that guy's name that does the Tenant Doctor?
John Smith.
John. Yeah.
Yep.
He goes by a different name on Facebook.
He does. Yeah, he does.
Why I didn't.
People will know him if they see him because he looks like David Tennant.
Yes,
a lot
he does. He
like
looks
David
a lot
Tennant.
like David Tennant.
Him and his partner, Kara, they're great people.
She does the Weeping Angel.
Yep, she does the Weeping Angel and all that.
And it's phenomenal.
Yep. Randy will throw some pictures up.
Absolutely.
Oh, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I can't say that enough because we're getting bigger
growing.
and bigger, and it's growing.
Yeah, if you want to look at my stuff, the Iconic Time Box on Facebook, the Iconic Time Box on Twitter, the Iconic Time Box on Instagram.
There you go. It's all over the place.
I mean, Pinterest, LinkedIn, it's out there.
It's everywhere.
You can even buy it on eBay if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, if you buy a copy of the book on eBay, I will personally sign it.
Oh, that's great.
Personally sign it however you want it signed.
That's awesome. Well, when you're talking about Sci-Fi Bartow, I do have different themes every year, but that's just what we theme the poster and the event after. Just like just like next year, 2020, February the 15th, we're doing myths and magic, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But it's all about the fandom. It doesn't matter if you come dressed as Doc Brown and Morty, yep, or a Dalek. I've had Daleks at this thing. We have a great, yeah, there you go. We have a fantastic car show. Randy sent me some pictures, or somebody sent us some pictures. The guy you're talking to that's got the A-Team van.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is he bringing that thing?
We're still working on that, but
all right, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to see.
Growing by leaps and bounds.
You know what I want is I want a picture inside the original Batmobile, the Chuck Barris.
Yes,
I'm working on that.
Oh man,
we're trying to get him to. We're doing a Batman Day at our local comic book store, Main Street Comics and Memorabilia. Hi, John in Virginia. They watch the show. This the 21st. Randy's going to be walking around live with our talking sci-fi camera and microphone, and he's going to be asking some questions, lame questions from what he's told me, but I'm going to spice them up a little bit.
You know, I actually thought about going down there and approaching them to sit there and do a signing, except that's not a comic book, you know.
Right.
But it is sci-fi.
Right. Do you have bulk books at the house or whatever? Or, yeah.
Do I have both books? No, I don't.
No, multiple books.
Oh, yes.
I'll talk to you after the show. We might get you down there just to be with us.
I've got a ton of them.
I've got J&E Creations, which does our Sci-Fi Bartow Cup. She's going to be setting up down there as well. And Randy,
Batman Day too?
Yeah, Batman Day.
Awesome.
She's coming to set up. She's got some Batman cups. I got a lot of Batman cosplayers coming.
Oh yeah,
and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I went down there not too long ago and sat there and talked to George Lowe for a long time.
Yeah, he's great.
That really was great because I used to watch Space Ghost Coast to Coast all the time.
Me and him text message a lot. I check on him, but he's doing so many conventions right now.
Yeah.
So he's all over the country. So let's get back to talk about some Doctor Who. We offshot that a little bit. But so the Daleks are more of an army. The Cybermen, they're the ones that scare the crap out of me. Yeah. It's just the way that they work. They're like the Borg from Star Trek, just about.
They kind of are, except that in taking the raw material of a human being, they take the brain and the brain stem and all of that.
They get rid of the rest of it. Yeah.
So all you get is delete.
What is the one episode where it's like an alternate universe where they have and I think about this every time I see a Bluetooth thing in someone's ear, but they had like a little Bluetooth device, and then it turned into the little Cyberman.
That was the Ghost. Oh, there you go.
That's all right.
Again.
We always forget.
Ghost Army or something like that. Well, that begins it.
Right.
That begins it because that's where it starts off. Because people think they're actually seeing ghosts, and then it turns out that it's an alternate universe peeking into our universe, and then they open the doorway between them.
Like I said, there's so many Doctor Who episodes. Even as much as I love David Tennant, that I have not watched. When we were on vacation a few months ago, I got to catch 3 or 4 episodes of Capoletti. How's he, the older guy before the female doctor? Capaldi. I watched I forget.
Really?
Whatever. That's how much I watch it. We get the names wrong, but it's just me and Randy.
Honestly, not to disappoint any Doctor Who fans out there, but I pretty much lost Doctor Who with Capaldi. I kind of thought, they were kind of trying to go for the Jon Pertwee type again.
Right.
And I'm not saying he wasn't a good doctor, he was. But most of the writing of the episodes got to be a little bit too PC for me. And
that's the way things are going nowadays. So.
That's the way it is and everything.
Yeah.
But not only that, he just kind of took the Doctor in a different direction, which I think is good. You do need character development.
Right.
But, I kind of quit watching it with his series, and I haven't even got a chance to see the new ones with Jodie, whatever.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry. We forget the names. We're old. That's why Randy and I push this show.
That white's real.
Yeah, this is real. This is not.
I would like to point out that I don't care about the PC direction, and I think y'all. No. What I mean is, I don't care that they go that route. And y'all two old fogies are going to have to get with the program.
That's never going to happen.
He's going to be joining Antifa.
I know. The one episode we're talking about this, say his last name again. The doctor. Capaldi. They went to the moon and found out it was an egg. Did you see that episode?
No.
And there was a giant monster inside the moon. I thought that was really way out there. And they got up on there and the astronauts had a moon base up there, and they were dying, and these things that looked like tarantulas, big tarantulas, coming up and killing them. Turned out it was bacteria. They weren't spiders; it was bacteria cleaning the outside of the eggshell.
Oh.
And then by the end of the episode, the egg hatches, and I'll just leave it at that. But that really intrigued me a lot. But I noticed then how deep and different direction that they were taking Doctor Who with that.
Well,
I have not seen.
Going that way.
Yeah, I have not seen one episode with a female doctor. But I have friends that are Doctor Who fans that don't like it. They totally think it's totally different.
And if you're a Doctor Who purist, you really think, no, they shouldn't have done that. What they should have done is made a strong character who was a Time Lord like Romana.
Right.
Back in the old days.
Or River.
Well, River Song, but, really she's not a Time Lord. She's just the child of the TARDIS. She's got the ability to regenerate.
Correct.
But...
spoiler alert!
Because spoiler alert. But that's the way I think they should have gone, because Doctor Who has been an institution. I mean, since 1963, it's been around. Even if it did quit in '89 and they let it lapse a few years, and then '96 brought it back, and then in 2005 they brought it back. Now they're basically bowing to the modern politically correct attitudes, and
as a woman and a strong character.
I have no problem.
I don't either.
I think it's great, because you got women in the armed forces that are tougher than, well, let's face it, any of us.
Yes, a lot tougher.
Absolutely right.
And for women to be able to bring forth a child, I mean, how many guys could pull that crap off, huh?
I've taken a crap that's hurt me bad, but I can't imagine having a baby. I mean, I have to put that spin on it, but that's the truth.
Instead of taking the character of the Doctor and basically switching genders, which we all know, what that's going for.
Yeah.
Is take it and make a strong female Time Lord who's in the background. I mean, for Goku, you've got all these supporting characters in Dragon Balls. I don't know why I'm going with Dragon Ball Z so much.
I know. I never hear you talk about Dragon Ball.
Well, I mean,
and it's awesome.
Something that I did get into, and I was an older guy when that came out, and I got all enthralled in it, and not only that, but Dragon Ball TFS Abridged.
Oh my God.
That is hilarious.
I bet that is.
But, we need to bring up 007 at this point.
Yeah, no, they're talking about making 007 a woman.
Well,
how is that going to work?
007 is a Time Lord, because look how many faces.
You're right. You're right. He regenerates. They're doing one more with Daniel Craig.
They are, and I don't think she's going to be 007. She'll be 007.
There's so much crap. Don't believe anything you read on Facebook or any of that crap. It's all fake news, or whatever, But I don't. I don't have a problem with a strong female character.
No, I don't either. I think it's absolutely needed.
We're going to talk about Star Wars at another upcoming podcast, but the newer ones where it's the one after Force Awakens. What is that next one called? The Last Jedi. They put a lot of strong female characters in there. They didn't walk on anybody. They just added them, and that was great, you know. Yeah. You got, you know, and people don't get mad. I don't like to get political on our show or anything, but you have to understand this. Bruce and I come from a different time, and it is and Star Trek, and I always have to bring Star Trek up in these talks. Undiscovered Country, when Chancellor Gorkon was dying, he pulled Kirk's down to him and goes, "Don't give up, Captain. Our generation's going to be the one that has the hardest time with the change."
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to. Not that we're like, oh my God, I'm going to put on a robe and burn some torches or whatever. No, it's just we have been born and raised in a different time. And yes, we're getting older. I'm in my 50s. You're getting in your 50s. You're in your 50s.
I'm 53.
Yep, you're a year older than I am. I thought you were younger than me.
No,
you always acted younger than me, but you know. But we're getting it. We know, but it's not that it's hard for us, but it's just been a certain way for so long, and we're going to be that way until we probably go, because that's our beliefs and that's the way it is. You know, you talk about movies. You know, you'll never see another movie like Blazing Saddles. You'll never see another a Star Wars movie with Princess Leia in a brass bikini. You're probably never going to see that again.
Kentucky Fried Movie and stuff like that again.
Correct.
Because and even John Cleese of Monty Python said, you know, we wouldn't be able to get away with doing the kind of stuff we did on Monty Python today because the world has changed so much.
Jerry Seinfeld said the same thing. He can't do what he did years ago.
Because people get offended at everything.
At everything.
Their little safe place.
Yes, and you know, we don't want you to get offended at our podcast because we're being real and about everything. But then you look at Dave Chappelle. One of the most offensive comics, I think. Oh, yeah. Not really, but he had a deep...
Eddie Murphy?
Dave Chappelle just came back and did a comedy show, a special, and everybody loved it, and he was making fun of the way things are now, you know?
You know, he actually had that one sketch, I don't know if you remember it years ago, about the black white supremacists.
Yes, he was blind.
That was hilarious.
Yes.
But imagine... if they did that from the other standpoint.
Yeah, it wouldn't
the
work.
white Black Panther or something like that.
Would not work.
Fly to pieces.
Yeah, they'd fly to pieces.
Well, it's because there's a double standard.
Yeah. And you know,
we grew up in a different time when these things were not as offensive, you know?
My best advice, and we're going to get away from this, 'cause like I said, I don't get political, is love your friends, love who you are. You don't have to change what you are, but don't trash somebody else because they write a Star Trek book where they go and meet God. Oh, wait, that's already been done, hadn't it? Star Trek 5. It wasn't God.
Well, I mean, but you know, I'll tell you what's the best way to liken this to. You like Star Trek, you like Star Wars, and y'all are able to come across the table and be here on this show together.
Sure, that's right. Reach across the aisle, if you will. You know,
that's what I'm saying. If everybody could do that, just say live and let live, and you know, if you got a certain set of values and beliefs, then live by it. But respect everyone else's right to believe.
Don't shove it down anybody else's throat. And this doesn't go just for sci-fi, but it goes for everything.
Yes.
You know. So, anyway, Doctor Who, great series. It's been years in the making. I don't know how the show is going with the female Doctor, because they swap around like every 2 or 3 years with actors, right?
It's now every 3 years. It used to go longer, but now. They basically have made the rule that the doctors are going to live 3 years.
I got you.
And the reason they do that is they don't cover a lot of their lives. I mean, when you see them, basically to us watching the show, okay, we see that they only live 3 years, and you think, how can this guy be 900 or 1,000 or 1,200 or 1,500 years old when each one of them's only living like 3 years, and Tom Baker made the 7-year stretch.
Right.
And that's because you don't see certain parts of it, and that's how they're able to come back and meet each other like they have done in many. You know, you've had the 2 doctors, you've had the 3 doctors, the 5 doctors, and I'm sure at some point with CGI, they're probably going to revive some of the old doctors or use actors and probably have 12 or 13 doctors together trying to solve some big conundrum.
Didn't they have it might have been one of their Christmas shows or one of them where they actually had a lot of the doctors in the same scene with each other?
Yeah, that was Children in Need Day.
Okay.
That was a special they did called Time and Relativity or something like that. It had something like, I don't remember what the name of it was, but they had John Pertwee, they had Tom Baker, they had Colin Baker, they had Sylvester McCoy, Peter Davison, and they, I don't remember at that time whether Patrick Troughton was still alive or not, but they had as many of them as they could fit into the show.
Right.
And they used clips of the others.
Right.
I, as a matter of fact, I think I recall now, they had not only that, but they had characters from all the Doctor Who series. And instead of having William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton on the show, they had them kind of locked in balls, orbs, floating around as if they were in prison.
I got you.
Because they had already passed on.
You mentioned, Randy, a little bit ago about James Bond's a Doctor Who or whatever. Well, you know that Timothy Dalton, he played in one of the Doctor Who movies as the commander of Gallifrey.
Yes.
I think it was. Was that how? I don't know if he was the leader of it or something like that.
Yeah, he was.
He was kind of a heavy in that too. So, Gallifrey, of course, is where Doctor Who is
Well,
from.
I mean, every British-born actor, even Patrick Stewart, has expressed an interest in at least making an appearance on Doctor Who.
We've seen characters from Harry Potter in there throughout, like Ron Weasley's dad, Mr. Weasley. He's been in a Doctor Who. He's like a regular reoccurring character on there.
Well, they did a Star Trek Doctor Who crossover comic book.
Yeah, I read it. It's awesome.
Yeah, so that it's you trust me, it's going to happen. Just like eventually we'll probably see a Marvel and DC movie crossover.
Absolutely.
We've already seen Tony Stark talking to Batman.
Yep.
In a movie, kind of hinting at where we're wanting to head.
Right.
So I would imagine we will see that in the future.
It's all mix and match with all these changes and who's buying what and buying where or whatever. You'll end up seeing a lot of crossover stuff like that. So. Let's talk about K9 real quick, because we have another podcast coming up soon about pets in science fiction.
Yeah.
Is K9 a pet, or is he a companion, or how would you describe K9?
I would actually describe him as kind of like the robot in Lost in Space.
Okay.
Okay, because, he's
a tool.
He's a tool in the shape of a dog, but he develops kind of like Mr. Data. Mr. Data's an android, and there's that question of, is he alive or is he not?
Being.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing. I mean, they endear these characters like K9 or the robot in Lost in Space to you, and they kind of give them a soul whether they've got one or not. So I would say that K9 qualifies as a little bit of all of it. He starts off looking like a dog, but in the Sarah Jane Adventures, he makes a small comeback. And
she reactivates him or something, if I remember correctly.
Actually, David Tennant fixes him.
No, that's right.
And leaves her with a brand new one.
Right.
Because he martyrs himself, destroys himself, saving them at the school incident.
With the vampire kind of people or whatever they were.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bat people.
Bat people. That was one we forgot to mention. Our vampire episode was Doctor Who.
But yeah, he's kind of like the robot, and that's another thing. While we're talking about that for a minute, I just finished watching the series of it, the new movies, and I'm thinking, okay, those are good, but they're not necessarily better than what Timothy Curry did with the original It. I mean, you had a host of stars in that, and it made it was a TV series, but the new Lost in Space series.
Mind your head.
I just cannot get into that because it is so vastly different from the original.
Isn't Dr. Smith a woman in the show?
To tell you the truth, since I could not get into it, I watched about 2 episodes of it, and I thought, no.
Not that matters, but I'm just saying we talked about that a minute ago. How they're changing.
The robot is an alien in this.
Really?
Yeah, the robot's an alien. He looks nothing like. I mean, even in the movies, they tried to make the robot have some semblance of the original robot.
Something that I know about this man right here is he's a huge Lost in Space fan. I mean,
I'm a huge everything sci-fi fan. I've got models of the Enterprise still just like you do hanging around the room.
Yep.
But I love sci-fi. I love everything about sci-fi. From horror and stuff, which, being a biblical kind of a guy.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And having that channel, people, if they knew that, he goes and sees horror movies. Gotta stay away from him.
The Antichrist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's
the Antichrist is Satan.
There are still some hardcore religious people out there that really shun, just like we were talking about religion, and I said the F word earlier, so, I'll be stuck or whatever.
You grew up in this town the same as I did.
Yeah.
You know how the churches are.
We live in a very conservative, religious kind of a town, which is cool,
Yeah,
it's great.
in a purple state, mind you.
But I've been to church with people that I meet at the bar on Saturday night, so, it's just the way, and then they go Sunday to clear it, and that's that. If that's the way you want to deal with your religion, that's fine. Just like we said, we got to get along.
As to whether it's okay or not, though, because if you watch a movie with Michael Myers where they don't even show blood, they only imply it,
right?
Then you're worse than the devil. But if you go out and have a drink, it's totally fine. Or if you get in the car and you get a ticket because you're out driving drunk or whatever.
Yep. All right. Well, we're about out of time, but I just want to say thank you once again for Bruce McGill.
Bruce McGill.
Where do you get this book? Where can you pick one up?
You can get the book on Amazon. It's available in Kindle and an audiobook. And so is the next book in the series, The Quest for Pandora 5, and that's where they will all be. You can also buy it on eBay. And if you buy it on eBay, I will personally sign it for you.
Awesome.
And send it out to you. And
you're going to be at SYFY
Bartow
in February.
Absolutely.
With a table signing some books and meeting and greeting.
Absolutely.
You did this past SYFY we did, and it was a really good experience for you. We love having local authors and stuff. That's what SYFY is about. But R. Bruce McGill, I know what the R stands for because that's what we used to call him back in the day. It's Rex.
Thank you, Sean.
All that you said, Rex McGill, and I'm like, who the hell is Rex McGill? I'm like,
now that you bring up a Rex, why can't dinosaurs clap?
Because their arms are too short.
No, they're dead, Sean.
You got me with that. That was good, Randy. High five with Randy. We also want to give a shout out to, and please come find this guy's book. It's awesome. He's a great person. How to get a hold of it. J&E Creations. I love to talk about my friends at J&E Creations that do the SYFY Cup. They did a cup with a TARDIS on it a couple weeks ago. They could do all kinds of design. They put the Star Trek logo on mine. Your wife just got a
Harley Quinn
and Joker cup done, and did you see the Mandalorian?
I did. Absolutely.
The one that she did from Star Wars. Put up her logo, find it, order her cups. She's going to be at Batman Day, which probably by the time you see this, Batman Day will be gone. But find her on Facebook. She will be at Batman Day with us at Main Street Comics and Memorabilia, right on Main Street in Bartow. Come visit with them. I want to talk about S&L Restaurant up on Cumbie Road. It's my sister-in-law's restaurant. Best place to eat in town. She really supports us a lot and talks about us, and she gives me a hamburger every once in a while. So, it's not like I need a hamburger once in a while. He mentioned you ran into my good friend Thomas Galvin, Chilton Signs up in Dundee. If you want any type of logoing done, get your car wrapped to look like the TARDIS or whatever, he can do that for you. SLS Entertainment, my entertainment company. We're also a proud sponsor of this show. SYFY Bartow, which is February the 15th, 2020. That's the third Saturday in February. It's free. It starts at 11 o'clock, goes to 6. You can see all types of fandom. Our theme this year is myths and magic. So you'll see anything from Dungeons and Dragons to Harry Potter there, but you'll still see your Superman, your Batman, your Doctor Who fans. It is a conglomeration of all fandom.
And the best thing about it is it's outside, out in the open. You're not in a big long hall. There aren't black curtains everywhere.
And it's free.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay nothing. Just come and we have hundreds of vendors that have everything from sci-fi plant pots to real life-size Daleks that come. We have a car show that is phenomenal. You can see the DeLorean from Back to the Future, the Batmobile, other surprises. We do a lot of theme cars. It's a good family event. We have a lot of entertainment during the day. We have 2 stages of entertainment. It is a Main Street Bartow Incorporated event. Am I forgetting anybody, Randy?
No, I think you're good.
Look for us for upcoming great podcasts, video blogs. We have one coming up about pets and science fiction, vehicles and science fiction, all kinds of stuff. We have one that's going to be dropping soon about space diseases.
Yeah.
That's going to be coming up. Yeah, we did a space disease one. We found out we didn't know much about it, so it's kind of a short one, but so enjoy it for what it is. Because Randy adds all of our visuals and graphics, and it's awesome. Thank you, Bruce, for coming on the show today.
Thank you,
Really
Sean.
appreciate it. And
Randy.
we'll see you guys next time on Talking Sci-Fi with just a couple guys that really don't know shit, but we're talking about it.
That's right.
See you next time.
Join Talking Sci-Fi or else.
You need to get a job. You're 24 years old. When are you going to grow up? You know, nothing I do pleases you. Pleases me. That's because you hardly do anything.
Done. Get up. You not sleep all day. If your father knew that you were sleeping half the day, he'd blow the roof off this house.
USS Eldridge. That's the ship my grandfather was on. Alright, Mom. I'm on my way to go job hunting now. I'll see you when I get back.
I cannot believe you're actually going job hunting?
This is important to me. That's all.
I can tell it's important to you. You spend all your time on this thing or researching whatever it is you're trying to do. The only time I see you is when I call you and come here.
And did I hear you talking about some kind of time travel or time machine?